Okay, so this is lesson 10 in our self-paced training webinar series. We're going to be covering just a couple of different features that I think are really, really important to use. You don't have to use them right out the gate, but we use lesson 10 to kind of be a catch-all for some of the other items we didn't cover in the other lessons. So today we're going to focus on kits, the job clock, time clock. We'll briefly review the reports, various reports that you guys would be using on a monthly basis probably, and marketing. Are you guys using much marketing right now in MaxxTraxx? Either of you guys, Harvey, Randy?
No.
No.
Okay. You know, that really is something that, depending on where you're located, is something that's going to be pretty critical. We're going to want you to use more and more, but we're still looking at really enhancing that part of the MaxxTraxx as well. So,
I used to print postcards years ago.
Uh-huh.
And that was really antiquated.
Are you using any third-party marketing like MechanicNet or Custom Sync or DemandForce?
I use Customer Links.
Okay.
Yeah, we use Customer Link as well.
Okay, good to know. Okay, guys. Well, you know what? I'm going to probably skip the marketing part unless you guys have any specific questions. And we actually are going to be having some more subject-specific webinars in 2012, and marketing will be one of them, and we are going to be scheduling that for January 20th. The entire webinar will be dedicated to third-party marketing, so we'll talk about that then. So
do you feel like this is going to be a lot more cost-effective than Customer Link?
You know, it's really a trade-off. I think it has more to do with personal style, because the truth of the matter is, whether you're paying Customer Link or whether you're paying somebody to do it internally, there's an investment. Now, do I think there's a better return to do it internally than to use a third-party marketing company for something like a postcard or mailer? Absolutely. But I think there's a whole bunch of different strategies to approach getting to customers and customer retention, and also getting people in more frequently.
Right.
Getting in more business. And, you know, just so you know, Harvey, if we get a lot of background, I'll have to mute you here just a minute. I could just hear some phone.
No problem.
Okay, so I just muted Harvey just for a few minutes. Actually, that's you, Randy. So, guys, we'll talk about that, but like I said, let's kind of stay on topic today with the kits and the time clock, and we'll look at those. How many kits do you guys use right now in MaxxTraxx?
Worksheets.
Kits or canned jobs or whatever you want to call them. We call them different things.
Oh, kits. I use pretty much zero.
No, it's under marketing. Okay. What about you, Harvey?
We probably do kits for transmission fluids, for oil changes, for brakes, for some of those generic things. Not a lot of them. We don't use a lot of them.
Okay. Well, I do think they are a fantastic feature. We use the heck out of them in MaxxTraxx for years, and also use them in our shop with MaxxTraxx. And we have the ability, by clicking on Manager, you guys see this? See me moving now? You click on Manager on the menu bar and click on Manage Kits. Here is my list of kits. Now, I'm selected right here to view all kits. We can look at just kits that are vehicle specific. This is kits for a range of vehicles. And then you select the year, make, and model. If you're in an RO, it knows to only show the kits for that year, make, and model. Or I can say, let me just look at my generic kits. And we also have the ability here to segment these kits. You guys can see here on the left, like by category, let's say maintenance. So these generic kits I use every day. And I also use placeholders in these kits. So let's look at these real quick. So if I click on, let's see this one, see if there's something in this one, oil change. So here you can see this is the kit name. Internal description, this does not print on the customer's repair order, and of course we have to have a category. But in this kit are my labor and my parts. So you guys will notice here that I have labor, an actual part with a part number, see the 5W30, and a placeholder. This is no part number. See, there's no part number in the item column means it's a placeholder. So the way that I have these designed, and the way that both of you guys will want to use these, because you're full accounting users and you also track your inventory, is you'll add this kit to any vehicle that's going to use 5W30 engine oil. And then you're going to replace it with the actual oil filter that is specific to that vehicle. You know, somebody actually asked me yesterday in the open forum webinar, you know, what if you use a different oil? You know, for me, actually, I have an example here. I actually used a separate kit. I created a separate kit per weight of engine oil. Let's look over here. You know, for example, I would have one with, gosh, it's not a generic, is it? No. Let's go down to, I have this at the bottom. Actually, let's put one in. I'm looking at just LOF. These are different quarts of oil, but you don't really need to make one with different quantities of oil. But I did do one, for example, one with 10W30, one with 5W30. I do one with 5W40. So that's an option there. But let's look at a kit in action. So if we are, let's actually start a brand new repair order. Clean one. So let's do this Buick, and they're here for an oil service or oil change and finish. So once I've started my RO, I can hit the kit button here down at the bottom. The guys, the button at the bottom. Hold on. So when I click this, again, I get my full list of kits, but I'm only going to look at my generics. So let's grab for this one, for example, that generic one that I said we looked at before under Manager. So when I select it for this particular RO, I have an option here. It's very important to say, do I want to use the saved prices? You see that my saved prices, obviously when I built this kit, my labor rate was 95 bucks an hour. When I'm adding this kit now, check it out, my labor rate has actually gone up to 105. So I can say, do you want to stay with my old labor rate of 95 an hour or go with my new? Same with my cost, well, my oil is the same, so that's good. Any questions on the saved or actual, these columns, guys? You guys get what that means? Saved amount in the kit? Or actual?
No, I got it. I understand.
We'll click OK, and it throws it on there. Now, remember, what we're looking at is under the item number, have a placeholder here. This actually does not, sorry guys, this does not have an actual part number. So I can do one of two things. I can actually right-click on this part and say replace this placeholder with the actual part from my inventory list if I know what this Buick LaCrosse is going to take. Or I actually could jump out to online ordering right now and order up a part. Let's just do that for fun. Let's say I'm going to replace this placeholder with a part from online ordering. It's going to take me out. It's going to know exactly my year, make, and model. If I have options, it will prompt me. And I'm going to search for a part by keyword and just put in oil filter. Here's my oil filter, and I guess I'll just use, where's my gold one? I'll use the gold and add it to my RO. So I am going to get this warning here. This warning is going to tell me, it's going to say, your placeholder price for this is $5, or the actual cost of that part, the inventory part, is $9.60. So do I want to go with the $5? Do I want to charge $9.60, or do I want to just enter in something, you know, whatever I want? You know, in this case, I'm just going to use inventory part price. Okay, so it's actually changing for me my price here to $9.60. You guys see that in the price column? Okay. Any questions on that? Pretty straightforward?
Pretty straightforward.
Randy, good, good. Randy, I had to mute you there just for a minute. Sorry about that. So the other way to use kits, instead of doing something generic, and I do these generic kits, guys, for all of my flushes. cooling system, tranny flush, tranny services. So again, tranny services are going to have a different filter every single time, right? So all I have to do is replace the placeholder. Power steering flushes, brake flushes. I'm big on this, and we're also big on selling those services. You can also do this for a brake job. Let's look at this example as well. Let's say request for service. We're going to do brake, front.
Yeah.
Okay. And then I highlight this and hit kit. See what I have. Do I have a front brake job? I do. This is actually vehicle specific. It'll be okay for this example. Actually, let's go back and see if I can find one that has a this one. I'm looking for a placeholder. Oh, no, that one doesn't have a placeholder. Let's go back to the Saturn one. So if this were, for example, the wrong brake disc, obviously, don't even have brake pads on there, I can just uncheck it. And it's only going to bring over my labor. This would be more applicable for like a timing belt where I had a bunch of different parts under there. Let's look at a timing belt one just for fun. And again, the timing belt ones are vehicle specific, typically, obviously. So that's really hard to have a generic one. So if I scroll down here to timing belt, just for fun, put this one on here. You see all these? I could say, you know what, I'm not going to need the roller, but yeah, everything else I want. And you know what, I'm going to go with, let's go with actual price on these parts. I'll leave the rest. Yeah, that's okay. So you have that option, and you can bring it over onto your repair order.
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, Randy, I'm going to have to keep you on mute. Can you, I don't know if you can.
Okay.
A lot of background noise here. Sorry.
Are you getting noise from me?
Yeah, I'm just hearing a gal in the background that sounds like you talking. So, guys, do you have any kind of questions on how this kit feature works?
I have a question on the oil change kits. Once you have a car in and you know the filter, the quantity, and the viscosity, do you then make that a kit and make it vehicle specific so that it's safe for the rest of that customer's life?
You bet. Just right-click, highlight your reason for service, right-click, make a kit from this reason for service. You're now looking at my most favorite feature in this entire program in MaxxTraxx. Click on that. It's going to be kit for a range of vehicles. Of course, it defaults to the current year. If you guys really know that this will apply to a range of vehicles, you can change the date. I didn't. I always just left it on here because I just don't know that kind of stuff. And you bet, it's all done. It's in there. So every, oops, got to select category. Every time this person ever comes in the future, they have, for this Buick LaCrosse, 2006 Buick LaCrosse with this engine, you know exactly what they're going to need. And as far as I'm concerned, guys, you can have thousands of vehicle-specific kits. Start out with a generic one. That was actually an excellent question, Randy. Start out with a generic one, replace it with the real-life, whatever part number it needs to be, and then upon exit, right before you're done, just right-click, make a kit. And there's just no reason. A lot of people say, but that clutters up my kit list. And my answer to that is, so who cares? You know, if you go to your managed kits, you can always say, I just want to look at generics, or I just want to look at maintenance ones. So there's really no need. And we did a ton of Volkswagen, Audi, BMW at our shop here in Colorado Springs that we were working, and we just did timing belts like crazy. We just got known for that. So every time we had a timing belt job, if we were ever going to see that customer again or not, we always went in and made a kit. Why not? So pre-build your generic ones. Pre-build them for all your flushes. If you want to do one, we even had a kit for tires. I'm trying to think if it's in my demo. I'm going to clean up this demo a little bit. Tires. It's not. I can't type a letter, and it's not a progressive search on this screen, which I'm not thrilled with. No,
you could make one for tires, and then all you'd have to do is change the part number of the tire, and everything else would be in there, right?
You bet, you bet. And I didn't actually put in a placeholder that said tires because there's no generic price for tire, right? But what I did do is create a kit for, you know, the mount and balance, valve stems, anything extra that we're going to put in there. And I had a tire 1, tire 2, tire 3, tire 4, depending on how many tires we're going to replace. Okay, how often do you do 3? Hardly ever, but it can happen. So we had one, a separate kit for each amount. Oh, there we go. There's one.
Now, I was playing with oil change kits, and I was trying to make them come out to 1995. And then I noticed when I put them on the RO, then they added tax to them.
That's true. That's true. All of these kits are pre-tax.
Yeah, anyway around.
Well, are you charging tax to your customer?
Yeah, but we always back it out.
Huh. Well, then what I probably would do in that case, Randy, it's a good question, is just figure out the math and
Sabrina,
just build the generic kit.
Sabrina?
Yeah?
Isn't there a spot on the ticket where you can, on certain services, you can make them come out to a target amount?
Yes, they're called menu labors. And again, we were talking in this webinar yesterday.
You could tag all your oil and filter changes for menu labor or menu price.
Yeah, but yes, and we actually aren't going to have time to talk about that today.
No.
I'm actually going to do a dedicated webinar for that in January. It's a pretty sophisticated and really cool feature that honestly I didn't use for a long time because they didn't have it. I didn't like the workflow, but now they've replaced they put a lot of warnings into the workflow that I think makes it much more user-friendly. I'm going to do a training video on the menu labors, which again kind of replaces the kit application in some situations, but I'll get that out to you guys in January. But going back to your question, Randy, I would just do whatever it takes to, you know, back out the labor, obviously, or the sales tax. You know, make it a 1911. I don't know what your guys' sales tax is, but you know, make your sales tax like 1911 or 1874 or whatever it is, so it comes out to 1995.
You can just go to miscellaneous and mess with the labor and parts dollar discount and get it to come out.
Yes, you could do that as well, or if you know that, so you always charge people $19.95 out the door no matter what?
Yeah, well, for 5-quart systems.
Okay. Well, you know, let's play with that real quick. So what we would do is click Add, Generic. Let's make it, I'm going to say LOF, Michigan, so I know it's you. 10 W30, just for fun. So again, this is internal, so the description, so it could be whatever you want. Let's make it maintenance because it'll bark at us anyway. So if we wanted to, let's say, let's do something for fun. Labor from list, let's find an LOF. You know, in this case, what we might want to do, and this is a case, it's a great point, Harvey, where we could use a menu labor for LOF, by the way. In fact, let's just do that for fun. I'm starting to get much more familiar and friendly with these. Let's see, LOF. Oh, you know, I deleted my menu labor. I sure did. Let's add it. Menu price labor, LOF. Again, I'll leave it LOF. But here it'll say perform an oil change. And this is what will actually show up on your folks' paperwork. And flat rate hours, let's say we give them 0.4, but we're only going to charge them $5 for this, for the labor. So I'm actually putting this menu labor into my kit. I didn't mean to select that one. I want to add labor from list, LOF. Oh, I didn't save it, guys. Did I not save it? No, I thought I did. Oops, let's do it again real quick. Okay, so here, 0.4 to the guy. My labor, $5.50. finish.
Yep. So you don't make that total menu price $19.95 in my
I
case?
can. I can. You know, I'm in the kit screen. That's why it's not working for me. I just realized, guys, I have to do it from outside. I could, you know, let's just look at that. Let's look at menu labor. So labor serves from list. Again, I don't have an LOF. It's, oh, see, it wasn't letting me save it from in there. But here it is. It's saved. I could actually, oops, I didn't want to do that. I want to edit it. Okay, I'm going to hit the edit button. I could put placeholders here. I could add a placeholder for my filter. Because remember, I don't know what it's going to be each time. Let's say it's $5. And then I could actually put my actual oil on here, for example, 10W30. So put 5 quarts. And in my case, it's going to be around $2 a piece. Okay, so again, this is going to be a $20, see, total menu $20. But we really want to get this amount down to $19.95 minus the tax. So let's just, for fun, just put 17, let's say 1765, oops, 1765, 265 to get a 1765 total. So this is all I'm actually charging in labor, which is sad, but you guys know we're loss leaders on our oil changes. So let's see if I create this menu price labor instead of a kit, and I select it to my RO. Yeah, I know. That's okay. I delete this one. Oh, it didn't save it. Delete this and do it again. Okay, add labors. Labor from list. LOF. Meal. Oh, it's checked. It's checked. Okay. Okay, let me get on another page and, oh, I got close, 1978. So you just have to play with that a little bit. Maybe add, I don't know, 12, 13 cents or something to get that to your 1995. Yeah, depending whatever your labor rate is, of course. So you can see instead of the kit, this menu labor comes up. Well, you know, I'm glad we jumped into this. I really need to get this going anyway for January's training video. So what happens when I replace an oil filter with a real deal that costs more? So let's say under description, we'll just put oil filter. Let's look for one that we know costs more. Say this one for fun. We now get this warning. See, we didn't used to get this warning. I was never happy about this because we get 2 warnings. Check this out. It's going to say, okay, guys, what do you want to use? The placeholder price is $5. And you want to stick to that in our case, $1978 oil change, right? But the part really is a more expensive filter. So, you know, in this case, Randy, what would you do? Would you charge the customer more for a more expensive filter or just go with the placeholder?
Yeah, we charge more. If it's more than $4, then they pay the difference.
Okay, so we say use inventory part price. Okay, we're going to select that. That's the first step. Now we got the second warning that I love, and it's going to say, wait a minute, Sabrina, the changes made to this part require the menu price to increase. Press OK to increase the menu price. Or if I didn't want to increase, let's look at this. If I didn't want it to increase, it would say, well, I'm going to have to adjust out labor. But notice, I didn't even have enough labor to adjust out to get down to my original 1978 oil change. So you can see, you know, that the menu prices do work pretty good. Let's see if it's this one over. If I wanted to, you know, keep it to my 1978, what would I have to do? I have to lose myself on this. Let's see if I put in a 50% discount. Let's see if it'll let me put in like a $4 for this. Look at that discount here. Check this out. The amount of this part has changed, and the menu price, remember our menu price wanted to try to be 1978, needs to be adjusted. So change the labor so that the menu price stays at 2078, or change the menu to this cheaper one. See, it's already made a bunch of changes for you, see? Now, in my opinion, those changes get a little bit kind of crazy in the menu labor. So I don't know if you guys can see here, you know, there's a bunch of warnings to try to keep you to original dollar amount, But you could see if I didn't have enough to adjust in my labor to get me back down to the $17, I'd be in trouble. So it's a judgment call. It's a judgment call on which methodology you want to use. Like I said, I'm going to be spending a lot more time working on this in January and putting together some training videos to assist us on how best to use it. I've just been using the kits. I'm like you guys. I get used to doing something one way and I never change. Been doing kits for almost 20 years, and they've worked really, really good for me. Now this one, even though it's menu stuff, I still, for this Buick LaCrosse, I still can right-click it and make it a kit, which we didn't have that ability to do before. We couldn't actually put menu labors in kits. Now we do, which to me is huge. I think that's very cool. Just like you were saying, Randy, when you figure out, okay, what specific parts do I actually need on this vehicle, then you make a kit. There's just no reason, because you see it's like 3 clicks, done.
Cool.
Any other questions on kits right now, guys? So let's run off of kits and let's move over to another one of my favorite things. The just change status so I know what I'm looking at. Job clock. So as of right now, are you guys using any kind of time clock for your shops? Like
no,
actual?
not been.
Okay. So the way that this works, our job clock is actually built into our time clock feature. Now the first thing you got to remember is if you want to use the job clock for your technicians, let's say this guy JS, he's my technician, we need to have that activated in his employee record. So we go under payroll, employee list. Where's Josh? Here's Josh. And under the miscellaneous, we say he is a technician and he does use a job clock. Okay, that's first of all, in order if you guys want to play around, you have to have it turned on. So the way that this works is that if the RO has labor on it, which has his initials assigned to it, whoops, I didn't use it. Click it. You see the JS here? Let's give him this job as well. Obviously, I didn't have his initials when I wrote this, so I have to manually go in and put his initials on this stuff. And just so you know, I can then have, you know, somebody else doing the door handle. He doesn't do that kind of work. And if I put somebody else's initials on here, this half hour is not going to show up under Josh's job clock to do work on. Okay, let's say we actually had somebody else do the flush for him, my lube guy. So separate person, in fact. Okay, so when Josh logs into his job clock, he's going to see just 6/10, 6/10, and an hour. Okay, and this is the Volkswagen Jetta. So if we click on time clock, we first have to log in for the day. This is just his time. This is log in to access these things. Okay, and I'm sure it'll say, yes, I forgot to clock out in November. Okay. So I'm going to clock in for the day. So he's starting today at 11:35. So here is the job that's assigned to him. So we clock in and just click OK. And this is where I can say continue or print a technician worksheet for my technician. We also have the ability just to have the job clock feature. We call it the job clock executable on the workstation in the shop. So if you, for any reason, got some background noise, Randy, sorry. If you, for any reason, want your guys clocking in and out on their own PC, maybe they have a computer in the back for their all data or their Mitchell data, you can just put the executable out there. Hey, Robin, I just unmuted you in case you're on a headset today with a microphone. Thanks for joining us. So guys, we now click OK, and we also have the ability to look at our vehicle history from this screen, print out a checklist if there's one assigned. Okay? So now in the background, if I hit my refresh button, we can see purple. We know what Josh is working on. So in the background, you know, we're letting this kind of accrue some time. Okay, so he's going to be just, you know, working on that job. It's 2.4 hours. Of course, we're not going to wait that long to activate it, but we want to let a little time pass so I can show you how the feature works. Now, does anybody on the call pay commission to your technicians?
No.
Anybody place? Okay. So couple of things about the job clock. The job clock was designed in MaxxTraxx to be able to let the guys flag their time, what they call flagged hours, which is different than flat rate. Remember, flat rate says, 2.4 hours is how much the Mitchell manual says it takes to do the job. That's flat rate. Flagged hours are very different, and they originate from the dealerships. Dealerships have been doing this for decades.
I don't understand what flagged hours, how they work.
Okay, so it's a really important concept, and the reason why is that if you understand how dealerships paid on flagged hours, you'll see why it was built into MaxxTraxx. But then you'll also see how, if you have the guys just clock in and out on the job clock, even if they're paid salary, if you have them clock in and out of the job clock, it gives you as an owner or a shop manager visibility into how productive your guys are. And I'm going to show you that in just a minute. Now the history, the little background on flagged hours is back in the day they had these little time cards, like cardboard time cards with a little, carbon paper and then a row of stickies. And they're like little white labels, little stickies. So what they would do is back in the day is they'd write with a pen, RO number 2.4 hours, put it on a sticky, peel it off, stick it on their paperwork, send it to the front for billing. And then they had, of course, for their week, these cardboard time cards to make sure they're getting paid, okay? So that what they were actually doing is they were handwriting in, this is how long I say, Mr. Mechanic or Miss Mechanic, I took to do the job. I am telling you that I took 2.0 hours to do the work, okay? I don't care, I might have taken a break in there, or I might have, maybe I had to go pull a car around for a customer or go on a test drive or something. So in all actuality, it took me 2.5. But I'm really only saying it took me 2 hours to do. That's what I am saying, Mr. Mechanic, I flagged for the job. Okay, so let me show you why that's important. So let's say, I know they haven't passed, so just work with me. Josh is done with this Volkswagen Jetta, with the stuff he was working on, and he's going to go back into his time clock and clock out. Clock off to the job clock for the Jetta. So when he clicks on a time clock, puts in his initials, and he's doing this all day throughout the day, he's going to say, I'm clocking out. And I'm complete. Now, the actual hours that it took to do the job will show up right here. Okay, this guy is lightning fast. Check that out. He did a 2.4-hour job in a few minutes. Okay, so but just in your mind, guys, imagine that they that this actually said, for example, maybe it actually said 2.6 hours. Okay, because that's how much the actual time was. Okay, but where the mechanics have the ability to flag hours, they can say, I actually only put 2.0. And that's because that's how long he says he took to do the job. We'll click OK. Done. So that's, and he's going to go to idle time because he is waiting for a job assignment. See, there's nothing else. If he had other jobs, by the way, guys, on this list here, he would have all the jobs listed. And the other really cool thing to show you is, see this where it says promise time, date and time? That's how the service writer can order the work. If the job was due at 2 o'clock, well, you're going to do that before you start working this job that's due at 6. So that's a little more advanced job clock stuff, but it's a very cool feature. So in this case, he's just waiting for job assignment. So what happens is, and now if I hit refresh, we'll see he's not actually purple anymore. He's not actually assigned on a job. What happened on this, let's look at this guy. We're going to go under employee. I just clicked on reports. Let me slow down. Reports, brown clipboard. Click on employee and click on employee productivity detail. Okay, we're just going to look at Josh's last effort. So we're going to put in job clock, put in JS for this time frame, that's fine, and click OK. So let's look at that Jetta he was working on. It's kind of small, sorry guys. In fact, I'll zoom it and we'll move it over. But you guys can see I'm looking at the open, this 2005 Volkswagen Jetta. So let me zoom in a bit. Okay, I'll show you why this is so cool, why I love this feature so much. Okay, so check this out. I don't know why the build hours is off. It should say 2.4, but you can see this Volkswagen was a 2.4. I'm going to do my spot guide. This is a 2.4 job. That's how much the Mitchell Labor Guide says it took to do the job. But you can see that he only flagged 2 hours. So what does that tell us? If we look at the flat rate hours versus flagged hours, which is all we're caring about for productivity, he is 120% productive. See that? So you guys following me on that one concept so far?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So you guys are seeing, you're getting visibility into how well this guy's doing. Let's look at another. That's just for Josh. It's just the one we just looked at. Let's look at another one. I kind of did something up so I had an example. I think it was for BC, I think. Let's see. Put in November 1st. Okay, yeah, this is another one. It's not the cleanest example in the world, but let me zoom in again so you guys can see it. Because I want to show you, and of course it's going to show the different types of vehicles here on the left. Just notice that I have an import here on the top, and the rest of these are domestic vehicles. It's a little precursor to my setup here. So if we go over to the right and we look at what Brett Christensen has been doing. Okay, so check it out. This job paid, we billed the customer 0.8 hours, and the flat rate guide said it should have taken him 0.8 hours to do. He flagged an hour and a half. So what do we know about that? He's not very productive on that job. He's only 53% productive on that one job. So let's look at some other. Pardon me?
Or could it be that we didn't charge enough for the job?
Hold on a second. Sorry about that. No, it says build hours 0.8. Well, you know what, Randy? Thank you very much. This is exactly where I want to go with this. The truth of the matter is, if this guy really took 1.5 hours, this productivity report gives us as managers a whole bunch of information. Number one, is it possible that this guy just doesn't know how to work on the Japanese cars? You know, maybe he took an hour and a half. Maybe it was a type of job that maybe he's an undercar guy. And this was I don't know, some diag issue, electrical diag. So either he needs more training, or we should have given this job to somebody else, or in this case, maybe we should have billed the customer 1.5 hours. I mean, you guys know this happens all the time, and this is my theory behind paying people flat rate, is that if they hit a problem or they have to take off an extra shield and then they end up having to, you know, get all those machine screws or whatever and reinstall a plastic shield or whatever, or they, you know, it's an older car and they hit a frozen bolt, or they have to helicoil something out. Hourly and salary people are just tend to just do the job, and when they're done, they're done. A flat rate guy will come marching up to the front, and me as a service writer, they're going to say, you know what, Sabrina, this job has taken me an hour and a half. I want to get paid on it. Okay, that's the beauty of paying somebody a commission schedule. In this case, flat rate, for example. That's how we paid our guys. So with that being said, this gives us visibility into, you know, should we have actually, should we have actually charged the customer more, or do I need to actually give my guy more time? Do I need to actually, do I need to give my guy more time? So my build hours will stay 0.8, but my flat rate hours maybe needs to stay 1.5 if they really took the extra time, but I just don't feel like I can be competitive if I charge the customer the extra time. So tons of management decision making based on this, tons of it. Let's look at some of the other jobs down here just to get a comparison. So this job, build hours 2.8, flat rate hours, I'm going to get my little pointer guy going here. Okay, this is 2.8, built to the customer, 2.8 per the book time. So look at it, he beat the book on this one pretty good. So look how productive he was here. And then we get to another one. Not quite so good. Billed hours to the customer, flat rate guide says 3.1, he took 4. So you can see, again, maybe was this something he needed, more training on? Did we need to bill the customer more because we ran into a snag? He beat the book. I mean, he kind of aided on this one, too. Here's another good example. We billed the customer 1.4. Flat rate guide says 1.4, but it's only 82% productive. But here, check this one out. This is an interesting one, and I get this a lot with the menu laborers. Remember, we talked about this earlier. There are no billed hours on a menu labor. There are no billed hours on a menu labor. You guys follow me on that? Okay, this is another reason why I've kind of struggled with the menu labor over time, because this will be blank, because in a menu labor, there's just a dollar amount. It's a flat dollar amount. So this will say 0. So you can see how this would actually, when you compare billed hours to flat rate hours, it would skew your profitability a little bit, see?
So
but,
you just have to know that, right?
Exactly, Randy. You're right on top of this. Because remember, I actually don't spend a whole lot of time looking in this column. I really don't. I spend more time looking at my flat rate to flagged hours. That's what I care about. How long did he actually, or on this one, 133. How long did he actually take to do a job that the book said, that we said on the flat rate manual? Okay. You can see that, again, this one is not very useful because the difference between the two. And then flat rate, billed to flagged hours, again, I don't care because my bill is not correct. So I ignore these 2 columns. This is the one I care about. There's another ratio that we also want, and I want to put on this report in another column, actually, and it's called actual hours. Do you remember I showed you how Josh could go in and override whatever was in there and put whatever he wanted? Remember I showed you that? There's not a column on this report that says actual hours, because I would like to see what actual hours was to flagged hours. So, if I saw a lot of issues where, maybe they are paid commission. Maybe they are. And the actual hours says 2, but then they flag 2.5. It's like, okay, wait a minute. If you're going to get paid if you can beat the book, that's cool. But it gives you visibility into that if they're doing a lot of changes. Now, the reality is, guys, you know this. To try to get technicians to use a job clock at all is a big deal. They just don't do it. And let's call a spade a spade. When I wrote service, I clocked them in and out for them. Okay, because I'm just an enabler. But you can see how you want to get these guys, doing a job, clocking in, doing a job, clocking out. But if they forget, or if they run over an extra half an hour, maybe they take off for lunch, that's where it's nice to be able to let them override those actual hours. You guys follow me there?
Sabrina, I'm confused. Isn't flagged hours and actual hours the same number?
Let's go back and look. No, it isn't. It actually isn't. So let me go ahead and get my pointer. Let's close out of here.
So how do you know actual hours? By the time clock?
Yes. We actually do have other reports for that. And I kind of would like, let's look at the job clock details for a second. Let's see if our information we're looking for might be in here. Just so you guys know, whenever I want to get to a previous month, I just click in the gray, and it jumps me to the previous month. A little side note here. So let's look at this just for fun, everybody.
So when the mechanic gives you flagged hours, he doesn't look at the clock to see what it says. He just kind of guesses?
Or he does. He's kept in his mind, I actually took, even though it took me 2.5 hours to actually get around to do my paperwork, it only took me 2 hours to do that. And again, we're trying to duplicate a method that has been used for decades in the dealerships. But check this out here. We got this report. Let's make it a teeny tiny bit. I can't make it a little bit bigger. It's just, okay, so clock in, clock out. So see, check this out. My elapsed time says half hour, but they actually flagged 0. Okay, that's kind of weird. Let's look at this. Clocked in, clocked out. Okay, here's an example of that, Randy. Elapsed time of actual time was 1.8. How much did he flag? 2.4. Now, in this case, it may be because of the, whoops, I didn't mean to do that. It may be because of the previous entry. I actually want these reports cleaned up a little bit, and I also want to take the job clock detail report and combine it with idle time. Let's say if someone else has another interesting one to look at. Okay, so again, flagged hours, elapsed time, almost exactly the same. In this case, the same. In this case, obviously, I was doing an example. Elapsed time was only 2 minutes, or whatever that is, 0.05 of an hour. Maybe the guy completely forgot to clock in. I mean, completely. So what did he do? At the end of the job, he clocked in, and then he clocked right out, but he flagged 0.3 hours. See, that's actually an excellent example. The other way around, usually the guys forget to clock out, but maybe this guy forgot to clock in. So you can see the elapsed time was only a few minutes, and this was actually half hour, or I mean 3/10 of an hour. Make sense? You see why we let them override that?
Yeah.
I have had a request. In fact, let me put it on my request list right here. To note, hold on a sec, guys. Okay, so I have had folks that said, Sabrina, we want something in our setups, okay, probably in our company information under a job clock something. We want the ability to have these guys clock in on a job. So let's say, I better assign something to Josh real quick. Give me a second. If there's anything on here, we don't have anything on here. Nope, I'm going to grab another one. Okay, so let's, darn it, just grab anything. Okay, we're going to put Josh's initials on here because I want something to show up in his job clock or else nothing would show. So then we go to time clock, log Josh back in. He's logging in and out all day long. Now he's really just logging into the job clock. And he clocks in on this job. Let's clock him in. Okay, we'll let it cruise just for a second. It'll probably still come up like 001 or something. So if he logs in after he's done with the job, I have had some folks say, you know what, when they clock out, I want this grayed out. So this is flagged. Let me write the box or the label flag time entry field. So I have had people say, just don't let them change it from the actual. And what happens if he actually really does need to change it? Well, then he actually has to go to a manager. Let's say he's going back out to idle time waiting for a job. Then a manager can go into any job clock entry and edit it. But that way he can't do it. They have to. So what do you guys, give me some feedback on that. What do you guys think about graying out the ability to enter, override the actual hours? What do you guys think about that?
Well, for me right now, it's so far beyond what we're doing with a job. We're not doing a job clock, so I don't have much of an opinion.
Okay, no problem, Harvey. Appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, we've gone back and forth on it. It's funny that, people will start up this and then stop it and be like, oh, this is way too much. But, I've actually worked with shops. I have a great Mercedes shop back east that he bought like a $2,000 job clock tracking with machines on each computer, software program, all fussy. And then he actually is using the job clock now in MaxxTraxx. But he, he really knew exactly what he wanted. He was one of the people that asked for that to be grayed out, the flag time entry field, so they can't adjust it. Actual time is what actual time is. And that's another reason why we said, well, why don't we get that productivity report to give us an additional column of actual time. And again, you can see how it is an incredible management tool. It lets you know, and not to judge these guys. Let me just back up a little bit. I have always worked in shops that the majority of the techs are paid flat rate. So my workflow was right before I did payroll at lunchtime, I would give everybody their productivity report for the pay period and say, here you guys, look it over. You have until lunchtime to see if I left anything off. You know, maybe left somebody's initials off or somebody swapped a job and never let a service writer know what happened. So they would actually take those productivity report, detail reports, make sure everything was on it, turn it back in, and that's how they got paid. Okay, so that's how I did the productivity report because we paid flat rate. But we have over the years used it to really, you know, not in a critical way say, okay, let me sit down and review maybe a job clock detail report for the entire month. And it's hard for them to remember that far, you know, in time, honestly, but we usually only did it once a month. So why was this a loser? Why was this a loser? You know, do we need to bill more here? Was this just something you didn't know how to do? You know, maybe they needed to source a bunch of information from Identifix for that job, which my reply is we should have charged the customer for that. Or, you know what I mean? It gives you so much information, visibility into the production of your business. So you have production capacity, 8 hours a day in a bay with all the tools you need. And then you actually have production. So, you know, and you know, I'll be honest, you know what we found out was our biggest problem when we started tracking this is back in 06. Our biggest problem was the 3 of us service writers. That was the only year that I wrote service full time. We weren't getting the parts to our technicians in time. We weren't getting them their next job. It was our fault. We actually found out it wasn't them. So the ability to do that, get that visibility, is going to find some holes in your business. You know, part of the problem was we needed the guy to give us a list of parts in the beginning. You know, my favorite thing, I love this guy. He did a bunch of restoration work, so that was his way of doing business. But we occasionally gave him a timing belt job. So he'd get to the entire, all the way to the end of the job, and he'd say, oh, shoot, I need a pulley. Like, dude, okay, you need to tell us that, like not before you're about to button it all up. You need to give us a complete parts list, even if you may not use it in the beginning. So you guys can see that's how we use a productivity report, the job clock and productivity report as a management tool. So I guess you can kind of see why I wanted to put this in less than 10 webinar, because I am so passionate about it, and it so impacts your top line and your bottom line, reduces your costs. You're not eating it by paying a technician for something you should have billed out. And it's also making your guys more productive so you can handle more business. So huge believer in that. You certainly don't have to use that feature in the beginning, but you might want to get the guys, maybe forget the job clock altogether. Start them out with just clocking in and out for the day. Start with that, you know, baby steps, and get them used to that. And again, if you guys ever, they forget to clock out, which they do, hey, I do, you just go and you edit the job clock. So that might be a way you want to get them eased into this, but this is an extremely powerful tool, just like the kits are. The kits allow us to, you know, be more efficient, quicker service writers. We know exactly what parts are needed for that year, make, and model. We've seen it before. So these are, you know, all these things in MaxxTraxx are designed to make you a better business, you know, running your business better and put more money in your bottom, you know, as your bottom line. So we talked a little bit about kits, job clock. I was going to touch on reports today. There are a little over 100 reports in the program. Most of the reports are under the reports button, this icon here, the brown clipboard. We do have a few reports that are under manager. I'm on a manager on the menu bar. Specialty management reports. We do have an ATI report. We do have a company snapshot. And cash store reports are all part of your daily sales, which you guys will be doing every day. We may not do it the first week in January. That's okay. But eventually we'll be doing that every day. And then, of course, this company reports here is the exact same thing as the brown clipboard, the icon. So, you know, guys, cruise through here. Well, check this out. Look it over. You know, AR's AP is pretty straightforward. Financial is where your sales tax summary report is. Okay? General ledger is where your other financials, your income and expense, and your balance sheet. Okay. The other one that's used a lot is the service counter. Now keep in mind, most of these reports here under service counter are the same as what's in your daily sales and cash store report. You guys might remember from lesson 6. So we're going to talk about that when you're doing the real deal the first or second week of January. But if you guys want to explore, that's where you would go. Okay? Well, great question. Boy, Randy, you have some great questions today to help kind of clarify, how we use these tools. You're almost ahead of me at every point, so I really appreciate you asking questions. You guys?
I have one.
Yeah.
I have one more question.
You bet.
I can see training going on for a year with this, and it sounds like you've got a system in place for us to continue our training.
Absolutely. What we've been doing since April 1st is we've been focusing on 2 types of these live webinars. We've had the self-paced training curriculum, which is lesson 3 through 10. Watch a couple videos, join us for a live webinar to discuss it. I have had people now go through that 3-week webinar series 3 times. We had Becky, who was on Wednesday. That was her this is her 3rd time through. So what she does is she just goes along, and then jumps in on 1 or 2 webinars in that 3-week period, just on subjects she wants to learn a few more features on or get brushed up on. The other thing, if you guys hire new service writers, throw them in the webinar series. Now remember, let's jump out there real quick just to get a quick little view of jumping out to the website, guys. Okay, so let me close this screen from my way. Okay, so remember the format here. Monday the 28th, November 28th, we had lesson 3. Wednesday was lesson 4. Friday is lesson 5. We're going to keep repeating this over and over and over again. This will be this 3-week session. Usually we'll begin at the end of each, or the beginning of each month. We're actually starting it on January 9th in January because we're going to be so busy the first week of January. It's always our biggest week of the year. Okay. In addition to these, we also are going to have these open forums, which have been a hit. Now, this is a great example, Randy, of people that have been using MaxxTraxx for years, literally for years. Robin's on the call, and he's been on MaxxTraxx for at least 2 years. I'm not sure, Robin, if you're actually, I don't think you're dialed into the conference call, but listening. So this is an opportunity where Robin may say, you know what, I want to start using the job clock. Or I've never used kits before. I want to start using kits. So we're going to stick with this same format where it's Monday, Wednesday, Friday. 3 out of the 4 weeks of the month are still going to be self-paced training. Tuesday, Thursday, pretty much is going to be open forum. But you guys see I snuck in on week 2. This is an M2M, MotorTraxx to MaxxTraxx informational webinar. So what we're going to be doing in 2012 is either putting in our 4th week or putting in our Friday of the 2nd week of the self-paced training curriculum special, what we call best practices webinars. For example, our plan is, it's not in stone yet, our plan is for the 2nd Friday in January, which is going to be January 20th. Demand Force, which is a third-party marketing company, is going to be joining us. They're going to tell us a little bit about their product, how it works, what the pricing structure is, and frankly, I'm going to be on the phone with you telling you what I think about that. And we're going to have other people on the call, hopefully. We're going to send out an invite for that one special webinar. They have people with Customer Link, with MechanicNet, using the internal marketing like we talked about, Randy. What are the pros and cons of this? And I'm going to have a great guy on the call with me who's going to be kind of discussing this. And these are very interactive best practices webinars, kind of like the 10 groups or the 20 groups I'm sure you guys have been hearing about for years. For us right now, they're free. We think they're great. We think they make you better business people. We think they will help you use more of the program, which will make you more profitable, which will ensure that you're going to be paying your subscription for the next 10 years. So it's not completely altruistic, but we want you guys to be successful. And we know the more that you use MaxxTraxx, the better it's going to be for your business. So in addition to that, if you have any ideas, any suggestions, for example, I'm probably going to do a very specific webinar about menu labors. Whether it's in January or February, I'm not sure yet. But menu labors are definitely a comeback for me. I think they're definitely a good feature, and I haven't spent a lot of time talking about them in the self-paced training curriculum. Part of it, again, honestly, is I didn't like the feature until the last couple of months, number one. Number two, I just didn't have time. So we may start weaving that in. But you guys send me some ideas. This is, this is all for you. Send me some ideas on different things you'd like to learn about the program, and we may have very specific webinars that are going to focus, much more deeper on one particular subject. That's the way that this works. But, going back to your original question, Randy, absolutely. If you don't think that you're going to even do, for some people, payroll, like less than 9 payroll, everybody's, I got a whole collection, this, collection of people that are in 2012, I'm going to stick with my payroll service. But maybe, 2013, I'm actually going to look at pulling my payroll in-house to reduce that cost. So you may join us for a lesson 9 next September or next whatever. But yes, we have people come in all the time, and again, veterans come into these open forum webinars because they ask anything they want, and it's they have some pretty sophisticated ideas, and frankly, these are priceless for us as a software company, because now I can say for 25 years we have been listening to our customers and adding features, and I mean thousands, and probably tens of thousands of features in the last 25 years. MaxxTraxx gets better and better and better because you guys give us feedback on how you want to use the system, or more importantly, as the owner of our company always says, what are you trying to accomplish with that? So maybe the feature's already in there. You just don't know about it, or I don't even know about it. Or, we need to tweak something this way or that way in order to make it really, really sing in your business. So, okay, guys, I'm going to go ahead and, what was that, Randy?
I said awesome, and I wanted to say thank you for the webinar series. That was great.
You bet. Oh, real quick, Randy, not that you have to be in it, but I'm just making sure you know it's available. I did just put on the website, last night, because Harvey had more questions. I'm like, you know what, let's do a review. On Wednesday the 21st, same time, 10 o'clock Pacific, which is noon Central Time, right? We are going to be doing a webinar specifically about, okay, guys, it's crunch time. We're going live. What's going to happen? So we're going to talk about closing your daily book in MaxxTraxx. Again, this is specifically just for MaxxTraxx users. Closing your daily book in MaxxTraxx. If you do that, printing out reports, real quick rundown of what converts and what doesn't convert. What we're going to have to do as soon as the data conversion is done, as far as setups, because remember there are starred or asterisk items on the setup checklist and the Getting Started Guide that are essential to getting done before you start rekeying in your ROs. In your case, Randy, I'm not going to be with you doing setups with you on Saturday because you're getting a special install on Saturday. Harvey, I will be working with, but you can be kind of on your own, but not completely on your own. Of course, your tech support person will set up your sales tax and reselect your sales tax in each open RO. I'm a little bit of a control freak there, so we'll make sure we get those done. But other than that, we'll always circle back with you on Tuesday, this January 3rd. But if you have any questions, Randy, or if Jody's got any last minute, wait a minute, what am I going to do about my bank accounts or something like that, please join us. And I will actually, I think I'm going to record this one as well, this kind of for MaxxTraxx users specifically, what's our last list of, before we go in, what do we need to get done. So if you have any questions, join us for that. But I'm thrilled you guys have, I appreciate it. I appreciate it, Randy. The investment that you have made in these last 3 weeks will pay off in spades, and it will pay off to you in ways that you just can't imagine. And I say that because I've been talking to, shops now since April that have gone through the series before they went live. And I've worked with a lot of shops that haven't. And their experiences are dramatically different. But like I said, once you're live, please jump in the webinar series again on January 9th if you want a refresher or just want to ask some questions, that kind of thing. Okay, guys, I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording. Thanks again for coming. I really appreciate it.